In this part we are gonna scatter 3 layers of broken pieces between the tiles. The way I wanna do this is by selecting a couple of smaller tiles that we already have, and then I'm gonna scatter those multiple times between the tiles. The first thing I will do is to create a float fill node and tell it to assign different grayscale values based on the size of each of these pieces. For that I need a float fill node from this mask of all tiles. And then I'm gonna bring in a float fill to bounding box. So with the current values I can't see too much, so I'm gonna bring in on auto levels. As you can see, the float fill to bounding box assigned different grayscale values based on the size of each piece. So bigger tiles have a higher value and smaller tiles have a lower value. Now that I have this, I can use a histogram select to select a desired range of values. So let's bring in a histogram select. First I will increase the contrast all the way up. Then I'm gonna restrict the range to 0.02, and this is because I want just a couple of pieces. And then if I keep sliding this position slider, you can see that I get to select a certain range of tiles going from small to large. I will have it at about 0.65. Now I will bring in levels just to make sure that the values that I have here are all white, which they probably are. The levels is a very light node, so I can have it there even if it's not doing too much. I'm gonna go to the values here and have this as 0.07. And this is the first instance of rocks that I'm gonna scatter. So I'm gonna duplicate the histogram select and the levels. At the second instance of rocks, I will have the position at about 0.5. This is to get another selection seed for the tiles. Then I will have a transform node here in between. And with this node I'm gonna enlarge everything. So I have about 3 rocks. Now that I have these pieces, I will go ahead and scatter them. For this I need a shape splatter. And here at the input, for the background height, I need the main connection, which comes from here. Then I need 2 pattern inputs. And I'm gonna connect these to pattern 1 and pattern 2. Now I can go here and reroute the output. So I want a bigger scale for these pieces, so I'm gonna set this to 3. And I will zoom in here. And we need to do a few tweaks to these parameters. Let's add some position random. Also some randomness at the rotation. And I want a lower height for these pieces, so I'm gonna type in minus 1.3 at the height offset. Now I have too many pieces, so I will mask out most of them, and the way I will do that is by lowering the height scale. So let's type in 0.25. The way this works is that most of these pieces get dropped below the ground, and some of them which were bigger in height still gets displayed. So that's how I masked instead of using the mask features that you can find here. Now let's get to the second layer of scatter. These will be some medium-sized pieces. First I will arrange these a bit. And I will duplicate the shape splatter. For the background height, I'm gonna use the first shape splatter. And here I could add 2 dots and just drag the connections from here. I will reroute the output and do some changes to the shape splatter. Here at the X and Y amount, I'm gonna have 100. At the scale, I'm gonna have 5. And even if I have a bigger scale here at the second shape splatter, the pieces will be smaller, and that's because we have a high X and Y amount. Let's also add some randomness to the scale. I'm gonna type in 0.8 here. For the height offset, I'm gonna reverse this to 0. I will also mask out most of these pieces as I have too many. So I'm gonna set 0.85 at the mask random. And this is how it looks so far. And these pieces look kinda wired for now, but we are gonna do some more height adjustments later. Okay, let's get to the last layer of broken pieces. I'm gonna make some space here. And I will duplicate the second shape splatter. Wait, not everything. For the background height, I have the second shape splatter. I'm also gonna reroute this. I could also add 2 dots and arrange these lines. And here at the shape splatter, I'm gonna have 200 at the X and Y values. And at the height offset, I will have 1, and that is to raise these a bit from the ground. I'm also gonna mask most of these by typing in 0.98 at the mask random. And with this I finish the last layer of scattering. Now I need to do a couple of things. First I'm gonna mask out the tiles because I don't want any of these pieces scattered on the tiles. And for that I will blend this back with the original. So I'm gonna bring in a blend node and I will have this connection go back here. Now I need the mask of all tiles, which I have here, and I could maybe add a dot here and another one here, and drag it all the way to the opacity. Let's take a look here. And we don't have any scattered pieces on the tiles anymore. Now I need to mask out the grout areas. That's why I created the grout in the previous video. For that I need a blend node here at the opacity mask. And I'm gonna drag a connection from this grout and set the blending mode to max. I can't see the difference yet because I haven't added the grout. I will do that later because I wanna add some kind of slow blur damage to the tiles and I don't want the grout to be affected by it. The last thing I want to do here is to remove some of the lower tiles which look unrealistic. For that I need a blend node here after the first shape splatter. So I'm gonna bring in a blend node. So the shape splatter goes to the foreground and I will have the main connection going to the background. And maybe I could add a dot here and just connect it from here. I do this because I want to blend the scattered pieces with what we had before we scattered them, and we had nothing there, so that's why I can delete some of these pieces. Now I need a mask which will tell this blend to only delete these lower areas. I will drag a histogram select from here. The contrast goes all the way up. And with this position slider, I will tell this blend node how much of these tiles should I retain. I'm gonna have it at about 0.6. Let's connect this here. And now if I take a look, I got rid of those lower pieces. I will frame this and call it mask of lower scattered pieces. Then I will frame everything here and call it broken pieces. I could also frame this and call it mask of all tiles and grout. Maybe add a dot here to make everything look more organized. And also I could make this connection to come from here.